यं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Dear friends, in this webinar 186 on this day of November 22, 2020, we have a little bit of an unusual topic. It is not so directly taken from any of our Shastras. It doesn't seem to use the expression or the words from scriptures like Gita or Upanishads. Right away, the caption of the subject of this webinar is put in simple English, and as all of you know, is comparison right or wrong? Why should this question arise at all? How did this question come up? Is the first question that we have to consider. When we study spiritual literature, when we study advanced morality, we are in fact told again and again not to compare. Great thinkers, I'm sure you have come across some of them talking in such ways. They say to us that in spiritual life, we should not have that unhealthy competition that you see in the world. The well known expression for that kind of comparison and then competition is rat race. And it is said if you are spiritual, you will not join this rat race in the world. As somebody humorously commented, the problem with rat race is even the winner also is a rat. That is, of course, playing with the words. What is meant is a cutthroat competition and just imitation, just seeing that, oh, she got something, I too should get it. He has something, I too should have it, etc. And Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual science, truly enough warns us against the fallacy of this mindless comparison. Somebody, let's say, bought something, maybe he needs it. Now, without examining whether I need it or not, if I just by comparing that he has and I don't have, I'm also going to have, it is indeed foolish. Therefore, at the outset, we do realize that there is a strong case for living without comparison, without that unhealthy competition. We must live peacefully. We must be ourselves. We must see our true needs. Why look over there and look over here and then get anxious? We do see the truth of this. But I am sure even in this audience, including the speaker, nobody is free from comparison and competition. If you tell me, Swamiji, your webinar had only so many participating, and at the same time there was another Swamiji offering a webinar, and there were 5 times more people. You think I will be utterly undisturbed? At the most, I may pretend to be undisturbed. Oh, really? That does not matter. But inside, I want to know who that other guy is, and so on. So that doesn't mean that comparison is justified. I am saying all of us do have this tendency to compare. Though we must realize none of us compares ourselves with Bill Gates or in India, Ambani's, and no lady in our friend circle is comparing herself with what Mukesh Ambani gave to Neeta Ambani on her 50th birthday or something. Nobody bothers. Generally, you and I compare ourselves with certain people with whom we think we have a relation. They are like us and we are like them. And these people who are somewhat like us ah, cannot go ahead of us, we feel. And these people who are somewhat like us, suppose are way behind us, it gives us some pleasure. When we see a beggar by the roadside or at the entrance of a temple, it doesn't give us a pleasure. Haha, I am so much better than him. Nobody, because we don't compare ourselves. We forget. We see their poverty. We may give some money to the beggars and we may move on. Next moment, we forget. But if it is somebody whom all along we regarded as in our own boat, we were classmates. And what is more, in school, in college, I was doing better than him. And today he is so much ahead of me. Oh, our heart burns. Therefore, this psychology of comparison needs to be examined. Spirituality, in order that it really delivers the goods, has to be examined. You cannot go for some platitudes. You cannot settle for just some statements by whoever has given them, however great they may be. Great mystics, great enlightened people, great saints, and so on. Suppose they have said something. If we just take those statements for face value, then I am afraid our life does not change much. We'll have to examine. It is nice, it is great that we have so many spiritual luminaries who have left behind a great legacy, even at this moment, walking on the same earth upon which you and I are walking. There are some saints and sages and illumined people, and we are really taken aback at their purity, at their wisdom, and many attributes. Now, we are blessed in that sense. But I would repeat, unless we understand their advice, we will not truly change. So here comes the question. When wise people advise us, do not compare, be yourself, do not get into a rat race, rather live a life of contentment and such things, what is meant we need to understand. Let's first begin with the simple word compare. When you and I go to buy some fruits in a market, don't we pick up this and that, this fruit and compare, and then we select the best? Suppose we are on an interview panel, don't we compare the academic performance of all the candidates, their performance in the interview, how candidate 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 answered a particular question, and don't we, in the middle or at the end of the interview, we, the panelists, don't we discuss? That fourth candidate was answering much better than the second or third, and the seventh was such a fool, made a fool of himself, answered all wrongly. We compare. So, how can we say comparison is wrong? That brings us closer to the crux of the matter. In life, comparison does have a place in functional domains. Nobody wants to pick up a rotten fruit and carry it home. One wants to pick up a fruit, pick up some vegetables, or buy anything, let us say, which is in good shape, which will really serve our purpose. So, comparison between what is right, what is wrong, what is useful, what would be a nuisance, etc. is a functional domain. Now, as you know very well, one of the main dimensions of this comparison, where a certain objection is raised, is not between a fruit here and a fruit there, or some vegetable here and a vegetable there, this candidate and that candidate. The question is we compare ourselves with others in terms of wealth, in terms of looks, in terms of popularity. Even little children very soon begin to compare themselves with their siblings in terms of whether the mother or the father is paying more attention to that other sibling and I am receiving less attention. So, attention seeking is so much in us. Therefore, let us leave aside this selection of candidates and selection of vegetables or fruits, selection of anything we are buying in the market, you know. Or let me give one last example. As regards selecting among choices outside us, A, B, and C, parents need to select, if they have the power, who would be the best son-in-law, who would be our, best daughter-in-law, uh, because that person is going to join our family, especially in olden days. You know, a new member is joining the family. Now that is selecting between two boys and who will be more suitable for my very, very dear daughter. A father, a mother does wonder. I'm saying let us leave that aside. That is about A and B, and both are over there. I'm not a competitor to them. My daughter has to marry either A or B, and we will have many criteria whether A would be better for my daughter or B would be better. Their comparison between A and B is justified. But spirituality raises a question about our comparing ourselves with others. It begins in childhood, it continues in the school, it goes over to college, and then job, and then marriage, and then how our children are faring. Though it first appears that, oh, their son went to an Ivy League school, some prestigious university, and our son is not even making it to the local university. He has to first go to, there are some colleges which prepare this student for 2 years and then send him to a university. I forgot the name for that kind of colleges in United States. If somebody doesn't make it to a proper university, there are some colleges where they just do 2 years and then they are eligible for university. So if a parent is crying that why this to us, our son, our daughter, now here we are already closer to the topic on hand. Though apparently the father and mother are sad about their son's performance, actually they are taking it personally. Our son's failure is our own failure. We crossed the ocean. I'm talking of, let's say, immigrants and so on. We came 10,000 miles away from India, where we were born, where we grew up. And here, after all this, is this what we have to receive at the hands of our own daughter or son? Though it appears the sadness is about the son's performance, the daughter's performance, but mind you, it is actually taken on themselves. I have failed. After all these years, my life is a failure, and so on. So, spirituality questions that particular self assessment. Many years ago, when I picked up Times of India newspaper in near Mumbai, to be precise in Lonavala, I saw a little interview of a famous businessman of United States who was visiting Mumbai that time. I think his name was Demon, Dimon. Some he was a CEO earlier of City Group and later another group and so on. His interview had a bit of spiritual touch with it. When the journalists in Mumbai representing Times of India asked him, when you lost your job, though you were on top, the board just removed you. How was it? And this demon, or daimon maybe, how you pronounce, this daimon said very interestingly, yeah, it was quite sad that suddenly from CEO's position, I was just removed from the whole company. It was sad, and actually, I had a lot of financial losses in that. He agrees, and then he makes a very interesting statement worth pondering. My net worth went to rock bottom with that dismissal, with my being fired that day. But somehow I myself don't know, he says. Though my net worth went to rock bottom, my self worth remained the same. And I moved on. I came to this new company. And in the next company where he joined, this diamond, actually he took it to great heights. He became very successful. If I know it right, even now he is one of the powerful executives in the corporate world of North America. He made up so well. And at the time of being fired, he says, my net worth suffered, but my self worth remained as good as ever. Maybe there was certain spiritual sanskaras in him. We Hindus connected to past life and whatnot. Whether you connect it to past life or you do not, certainly there is certain mindset where the person, man or lady, does not compare his or her position with X or Y, but remains objective. Okay, I lost my job and somehow I didn't have much savings. I didn't make much savings. Never mind. What is it I can do now? That operation of the mind is free from comparison. Everybody else has gone ahead and I am here, lost the job. In this way, if you think of others as sitting way up there, way high there, and if you think of yourself as having fallen on the ground, this is all image making. Let me take you to a little height of Vedanta here. The great Sri Ramana Maharshi says human suffering is because in the medium of thoughts, in our thinking, that means we, number one, create an image of ours, and number two, cling to that image. I am this. Our mind makes a picture of who we are, which is questionable. It makes a picture on the basis of a little information, while there is much more information which the mind is not able to comprehend or even gather. On the basis of a little information, it comes to a conclusion. I am a big failure. I am a burden on the earth. Whatever I have touched has just gone in flames. All sorts of the mind makes a negative image of oneself, and Maharshi Ramana in that shloka of Saddarshanam says, the ego in us, which is the root cause of suffering, is born in images. It feeds on new images. It changes from one image to another, and it is always in the midst of number of self images. This mind machine of ours never rests. It is all the times making a comment on oneself. How am I now? Am I good? Am I doing well? Am I better? Am I better than them? Am I better than these? No? How sad. That means I am losing. I am behind. How sad. The mind is all the time doing this noise. Maharshi Ramana using the word in the Sanskrit version of that Saddarshanam. Otherwise, the original must have used some other word in Tamil, but in the Sanskrit version, it is Rupa. I translate the word Rupa as an image. Hardly anyone is free from it. As I said in the beginning of the lecture, even a Swamiji, for both humor as well as factually, finds it difficult to be free from images. You know, one Swamiji wrote a book, another Swamiji also wrote a book. The other Swamiji's book sold like what we call it, hot cakes, you know, became a bestseller in his country or abroad also. And this Swamiji's books, people were not accepting even if given free. You think it's easy for this Swamiji to have, you know, proper rest at night? He will be wondering, why is my book not selling? Why is his book selling so well? So, for both humor and a little bit of factuality, all of us, humanity, create an image of ourselves. If my books have sold well, I create a good image of myself. You know, whether that book really helps people or not, but I get a high. My book sold in millions, thousands, whatever. These are all games that our mind plays. So, to complete that reference to Ramana Maharshi's incisive statement, he says, if we inquire, who am I? Am I this image? Today, my mind is saying, I am no good, all others are so good. Is that true? Question it. And another day, this same mind says, haha, I am on top of the world now. Nobody is anywhere near me in the glory, in achievement. Maharishi Ramana would say, question that image. Other day you thought you were low. Today you think you are high. Are you high? Are you low? What are you? Who am I? In this way. So we say that in the psychology of ours, there is a certain mischievous and vicious image making. It is understandable that all of us, during a certain stage of life, are into it. In fact, there is a Subhashita which also compares different people depending on their value system. The Subhashita is simple and nice. Let me chant it for you. Adhamaha dhanamichanti dhanam manam cha madhyamaha uttamaha manamichanti mano hi mahatam dhanam. If you classify all people as high level A, middle level B, and low level C, the Subhashita says, Adhamaha, the level C, they just want money. By money is meant pleasure, position, some kind of gross things, some show off. Adhamaha dhanamichanti. Madhyamaha, a good number of people who are a little more thinking, thoughtful. They want money, dhanam cha, manam cha. They want money as well as honor. They want respect. They want both, madhyamaha, B level. And the Subhashita says, uttamaha, those who are level A, uttamaha manam icchanti. For the sake of their honor, for the sake of their prestige, for the sake of their, not being mistaken, not being accused of this or that, they will even let go of money. They will watch and integrity is questioned. They will say, all right, if all of you think I got this money in wrong ways, here it is. All of you keep it. I will start a new chapter. Uttamaha manamichanti manohi mahatam dhanam. For very good people, very noble people, their self-respect is most important. Subhashitas are not Vedanta. Okay? Vedanta then takes the matter to even higher level. Vedanta questions this notion of self-respect. Um, but ordinarily, yes. So now quickly, one or two references to Gita and Upanishads. Does Bhagavad Gita talk about this evil of comparison? How we fall a prey to our own mind's vicious games, how our mind creates, especially a undesirable image of ours, and a very desirable, what desirable, enviable, enviable image of others. Look at him, how wealthy he is, and look at her, so famous she is. Look at these people. My God, where am I? So the mind plays such games. You and I know on many occasions we would have envied somebody, and next day we get the news that he has been suffering from cancer for last 7 years, but was hiding it, and now he is on his last legs. It is advanced stage and blah blah. Then we say, I was so jealous of him till yesterday, and so on. Such cases do come. We come across some cases where sometimes we would have been jealous of somebody in our limited knowledge. That's why I call it mind's games. We should never fall a prey to the conclusions of our mind that somebody is high and we are low, or somebody is low and we are high. Both all these conclusions, the least we can say is hold these judgments lightly in your consciousness. Don't take them to be fully true. Maybe, maybe, but may not be. There are cases when we would have been jealous of somebody, and then we get the news he is no more. Especially in this audience, including the speaker, majority are above 60, and very now and then we get news of somebody in our age group going up there. Life being so fickle, life being so transient, we don't know who will be around tomorrow, nor do we know whether we will be around tomorrow. In this kind of scenario, why should we take all these judgments of others being superior to us or our being superior to them, etc.? Why should we take them seriously? At the most, we can have some kind of idea in a corner of our mind. It seems I have not fared well. It's all right. Narayana, Narayana. Bhakti Marga says, think of God, surrender to God. Surrender to God is the language of bhakti. In the language of jnana, you know what it is? Don't bring God. In the language of jnana, that is wisdom, all it means is My mind has very limited intelligence, and therefore, knowing the limitations of thought, knowing the limitations of this mind of mine, I should not take any of its conclusion to be fully true. I should hold it lightly in my consciousness. And there is definitely full knowledge, which this mind doesn't have. In the light of full knowledge, probably everything is fine. Therefore, what my limited mind has concluded is put on the, so to say, on the desk at a distance. That is surrender. Or to make it simple, always remembering the limitations of this conditioned mind is form of surrender. No God, no supreme truth coming in the language here. All right. Gita does not directly talk of comparison, but Bhagavad Gita on many occasions, at many places, says a truly spiritual person is santushta. If somebody else got more and this person got less, the truly spiritual person does not lose his santosha, contentment. Santushtaha satatam yogi, 12th chapter. And chapter 4, Dvandvatito vimatsaraha. Matsara is jealousy. Vimatsaraha, vigata matsaraha, no jealousy. Somebody else has what I would have loved to have. Alas, I don't have, but he has. Take a deep breath and say, God's will. And I am nobody to judge, either judge him as lucky or judge myself as unlucky. This mind which says I am unlucky is not qualified to come to such judgment. This mind has its own serious limitations. It's like if a child comes to you and says, you know, you are the child's mother, let us say, Mama, Mama, oh, that balloons, so good. I think in this whole super mall, in this, shopping mall, I think this balloon is the most wonderful thing. What do you think? You smile, dear. You want that balloon? You get that balloon. But you smile at that boy's comment, that child's comment. In fact, I read long back in Reader's Digest that Queen Victoria, I think, in the good old days, she once announced on the birthday of her 8-year-old grandson, in front of a large gathering, the Queen of England announced, Today is the birthday of my grandson. He has turned 8 today. And ladies and gentlemen, or whatever, she said, I am gifting him, you know, uh, what is it? There's a mountain in Kenya, a famous mountain. Mount, can somebody turn the mic on and say, Mount, people go and climb it. Kenya or neighboring Tanzania?
Kilimanjaro.
Huh?
Kilimanjaro.
Little loudly, huh?
Kilimanjaro.
Correct, exactly, exactly. Mount Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro. So the Queen Victoria said, I'm gifting, because they owned, when they were ruling Kenya, Tanzania, everything that time, Kilimanjaro, right? And then everybody was impressed. Wow, this is called royalty. She can gift a whole mountain. But that grandchild's face was so depressed because for the grandchild, the Mount Kilimanjaro means nothing. Then the grandmother, she bends towards the child and says, Honey, what do you want to have? And that child then says, Grandma, give me a pony, a little horse. So Our mind is like that grandchild. Our mind, with such serious limitations of intelligence, values gold and woman and land and position and all sorts of long list of things. And Bhagavad Gita says, don't be carried away by gain and loss in the world. Vimatsara. And 18th chapter says, Anasuya. Asuya also is a kind of, finding fault with others. You know, you get the news that somebody was praised in some get together. You make a face. Yeah, yeah, people praise, but I know his inside story. And you make a face. And that means you are not happy with that person. You would have loved to be praised. You should have been praised. Anasuya is finding fault, you know, but it comes very close to jealousy. Lastly, in the Gita, lastly, there is a beautiful verse at the end of 11th chapter. Sri Krishna says there are five attributes. If you have these five, you will come to me. You will get the divinity. Mat karma krit, mat paramo, mat bhaktaha, sangha varjitaha, then nirvairaha. See, this comparison also brings in vaira. Vaira means enmity. You not only are jealous, it very soon it turns into you are grinding your teeth against that person. Again, he won. I don't know what justice is on this earth. Seventh time, he has only won, and I lost again. Ha! Vaira. Sri Krishna says, Niruvairaha. Be free of enmity. Then, yes, samam eti pandava. Ishavasya Upanishad in the sixth mantra says, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Na vijugupsate also has that flavor of no comparison. You are aware somebody is wealthy, you are not so wealthy. Somebody is famous, you are not famous, or the other way around. You are aware of so many things. Someone has three children, and I don't even have one child. All kinds of, somebody's book sold, as I gave the example, in millions, and my books are lying in the go down without anybody wanting them, and so on. You are aware. Gita doesn't say don't be aware. Gita doesn't say bury your head in the sand and no, don't look at world. Be aware, but thanks to your surrender to God or thanks to your broad-mindedness, you put things in their place. No vijugupsate. There is no fear. There is no negative emotion in them. And lastly, to refer to one or two other sources, Bhajagovindam says, unless we are into true spirituality, this life is such a problematic life. Putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi. There is a line. Look around, you find sometimes some rich man is afraid of his own son. Father being afraid of son? Well, this world. In the 70s, Amitabh Bachchan and Jaya Baduri acted in a movie, very famous, Abhiman. Over there, you know, to begin with, the hero played by Amitabh was so famous. Then he picks up a village girl played by Jaya, and that hero picks up a village girl, unknown girl, and marries her. Once she comes to the big town city, slowly it is found that she also sings very well, and slowly she becomes more popular in the you know singing world. And the husband, he compares. I was famous and I picked her up. She was just a village girl. Now nobody wants me. Everybody is asking for her to go and sing. And he then starts drinking, goes berserk. So that movie conveyed how in our life, unless we have a wonderful firm foundation of spiritual wisdom. Our own wife, our own husband, our own son, our own student doing well can cause, as Ramana Maharshi would say, comparison leading to this unfavorable image of our own. Therefore, friends, without going long, comparison has a place, but we must be watchful and we must not allow comparison to cross the limits of functionality, what to select, what to leave, where to go, where not to go. These are all functional decisions. We should not allow comparison to cross those limits. What happens when comparison crosses that limit? If it crosses that limit of functional decision making, it creates in us certain picture of who we are. That is nothing but ego. It waters the plant of the ego. If the comparison is favorable to the ego, our ego gets fattened. If the comparison is unfavorable to our ego gets hurt, ego gets wounded, the ego begins to suffer. So, this image formation, self judgment, self esteem, self worth, or as that businessman Diamond called it, net worth versus self worth, that is the problem. Therefore, there is no single answer, right or wrong. At places, comparison is right, it is necessary to get going with life, but within us, the formation of ego and sweeping conclusions, calling ourselves either superior or calling ourselves good for nothing, etc. That kind of comparison has to be avoided. How? By examining, by questioning, by shaking the foundations of those conclusions. We can, in fact, be free from comparison. We can live in awareness, and this self esteem or opinions about who we are, how good we are, etc., will then sit lightly in the consciousness without hurting us or giving us passing pleasure and so on. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.